Hello everyone! This tutorial is going to be all about the camera. My main focus will be to show you how to use the camera properly, including certain technical aspects that are common to photography and some others regarding video recording. So, let's get going.
To zoom in and out, grab this part of the lens and simply rotate it. Zooming in will look like this, and zooming out like this. To manually focus, grab this part of the lens and simply rotate it. Manual focus looks like this. It's a bit tricky to focus manually, so now I'll show you how to do it automatically. To change to autofocus, simply go to this button and change it to AF. Now let's go to the menu. In this menu, we have some important settings like movie exposure. Exposure is a combination of settings that include aperture, shutter speed, and ISO. You may choose auto exposure, since it will work well most of the time. In autofocus mode, we have live mode, we have face recognition live mode, and quick mode. Let's just stay with live mode. In live mode, we have this white square, which you can move around, and select the place where you want to focus. Once decided, press this button on top until the square goes green. Focusing on live mode looks like this. Now let's go to the next menu. We're going to select movie recording size. Standard definition of our videos is 1920 by 1080, which is known as 1080p or Full HD. You can choose different sizes with the scroll wheel on top of the camera and different frame rates. The number of frames per second you select is very important and is going to depend on the color system used in your country, and is also related to the frequency of the electric current. On some countries, you'll need 25 frames per second, while in others, you'll need 30 frames per second. Let me show you what the differences are. In this clip, we have 25 frames per second, which is appropriate here. You can also select 24 frames per second, and you can already see a small fluctuation in the image. When you go to 30 frames per second, you can clearly see it's not right. Comparing with the first clip, you can see the difference in quality. Next is sound recording. You can choose from 3 different settings. If disabled, there will be no recording of sound. Then there's manual and automatic. You don't want to leave this setting in automatic, since it depends on factors like the sound level of different voices, room noise, and type of microphone. So let's go to manual. When you select manual, you now need to choose the appropriate recording level. You can get the best audio recording when the sound is, on average, between 12 and 0. If the level gets to 0, which I'll show you by tapping the microphone on the camera, the sound is too loud and it will become distorted. You can then select a different recording level or microphone sensitivity until the level is adequate to your needs. If you choose a level that is too high, it will pick up way more sounds than needed. It is best simply to start on the low end and work your way up. Let's skip some menus, since they're not that important to us, and go straight to the settings menu. Here you can choose some settings like auto power off, format your SD card, and select the file numbering on the clips you record. On the second settings menu, you can choose some important settings like the date and time, which will help you keep a record of the videos you record, since both will be attached to your clips. You can choose the language of the menus, and the video system, which is connected to the frame rate that I talked about earlier. In some countries, you will have NTSC, which when selected lets you choose 30 frames per second on the second menu, while in other countries you'll have PAL, which when selected lets you choose 25 frames per second. And now we've cleared the necessary settings on the menus. In some cases, where maybe exposure isn't optimal, you can try and correct some things with manual exposure. You can rotate the scroll wheel to change shutter speed, but I would stick with just changing the ISO, which is light sensitivity. You can do this on the button next to the scroll wheel. If the image isn't equally lit, choose a bigger ISO value, but not too much. It will introduce distortion to the image and you'll lose quality and definition. Finally, with the UFO button, you can see many of the settings you have previously selected, like the different exposure values, whether you've chosen manual or auto exposure, and things like autofocus mode and movie recording size. If you press the Q button, you can change many of the settings directly from here. There are many more settings to choose from, so get acquainted with the camera and explore all the different possibilities it gives you. Now, go out there and start recording.
Take one. Action.
You now know how to use the different settings. Wait, this isn't right. Could you?
Take two. Action.
That's it. You now know how to use the different settings on the camera. Use your best judgment to achieve the desired results and record some great IEEE academic videos. And remember, knowing is half the battle.